Hey guys, what is going on? This is your boy Joshua here with Regular Josh Adventures. Today we are going to be talking about Fantasmic here at Disneyland. Disneyland has been without Fantasmic for over an entire year, and it is this Friday, May 24th, that we are going to be getting Fantasmic coming back. But today we actually ended up getting just a little bit of a sneak peek for what to expect when it comes to Fantasmic returning. That also includes the Peter Pan scene and also the new climactic battle scene between Mickey and Maleficent. And there's a reason why I put new in quotes, right? So before we get into all that, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and without further ado, let's hop into it. Alright, so again, as I said before in the little intro, Fantasmic has been gone for an entire year, and so many people, of course, were just waiting and anticipating for its return. And the thing is, when it comes to Fantasmic, it wasn't originally going to be gone for an entire year, alright? They originally, once the accident happened with the dragon being engulfed into flames, which was really, really difficult to watch because, I mean, let's be serious. Fantasmic is an amazing show, but it was that animatronic right there, that particular dragon, Murphy, was what really made the entire show so epic. Like, again, the whole show in general is amazing as well, but that dragon is what really set it over the edge, especially because it was able to breathe fire. That was probably the coolest element of it all, you know what I mean? But that, unfortunately, is no longer coming back, at least not in that form. Originally, when that dragon did burn down, and of course they had to shutter all later performances, I think originally what Disney was going to do was that they were going to basically have the show shuttered for 2 weekends, I believe, and it was going to return. But then they ended up delaying it for another month, and then another few months, and then unfortunately they ended up delaying it for an entire year. Fantasmic was sorely missed, and Disney, I think, knew this because obviously, you know, they tried doing a projection show about a frog in New Orleans or whatever, which I thought was pretty cute. A lot of people weren't a big fan of it, but I personally thought it was cute. But also they had, I think it was Queenie and the Jambalaya Band. I think that's what they were called. It might have been completely something different, but either way, they had, you know, a band and Queenie essentially on like one of their like floating boats or floating platforms or whatever you would call that. Floating raft, I think. They had it on the Rivers of America for a while, kind of doing some songs and performing with a live band, which was a pretty good addition, you know, to the fact that we didn't have any entertainment at Rivers of America for a while, you know? So it was kind of nice to be able to still get something there while we await for the return of Fantasmic. Obviously, when it came to them mentioning that the show's not going to be coming back for another year, I think it was announced either around the same time or a little bit later on down the line that we were actually going to get a return of a classic scene. And so instead of, say, the Pirates of the Caribbean scene happening while the Columbia is going down Rivers of America, we're actually going to be getting Peter Pan returning. So that was honestly, personally, an interesting choice that they decided to bring back Peter Pan. I personally like both scenes. I mean, they're more or less kind of the same thing, the same kind of like stunts, you know what I mean? Like swinging around the ship and doing all that. But, you know, so me personally, I'm neither here or there when it comes to either Peter Pan being with us or Pirates of the Caribbean being, you know, in the show. I'm cool with whatever. But because they made that particular announcement, it made a lot of people wonder, are we going to get a couple of new additions in Fantasmic? Is Fantasmic going to have a couple of new scenes? Are we going to get that new heroic sequence that was added in the Walt Disney World's version of Fantasmic with Frozen 2, Moana, and Aladdin added into their version of Fantasmic? Are we going to get something similar, or is it just going to be completely new, different scenes added to our show? Me personally, I didn't think there was going to be any changes coming to our Fantasmic, and I think mainly that had to do with the fact that, you know, technically we did just get a newer Fantasmic, even though it was about like, what, 7-8 years ago, but I personally, I think, kind of found it to be a little bit too soon to already doing way too many changes to Fantasmic, especially considering that the 1.0 version of Fantasmic's kind of been with the park for roughly 20 years, you know? So I think for me, it was kind of like, yeah, I think it may be a little bit too soon, though. But again, people were speculating as to whether it was going to be anything new. So we did end up essentially getting an answer to that. We did get a montage, essentially. Again, we got like a little bit of a sneak peek of what Fantasmic is going to be. It's not showing every single scene. It's kind of showing like snippets, of course, of the show. Because, of course, you know, we already know what Fantasmic is when we left Fantasmic. You know what I mean? But from what I can see, it looks like it's the exact same show, which, I mean, I was kind of expecting it to be the exact same show, minus, you know, Peter Pan being in the mix now. But Disney was kind of quiet for a long time about Fantasmic, you know, and so I knew that there wasn't going to be any new scenes, because if there were to be new scenes, I think they would have announced something, you know, like when it came to Fantasmic 2.0, you got the announcement that Peter Pan was going to be replaced with Pirates of the Caribbean, and you also got the announcement, I think, that Aladdin was going to be added to our show, and I think you also got the announcement that Tangled was also going to be added to our show too, and maybe that was a little bit of a surprise. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember. It was a while ago. All right, like it was the show, I think, shuttered in 2015 for the Galaxy's Edge, and of course Rivers of America ended up getting a lot of changes, and so they had to, you know, of course, shut that down, and it came back in 2016. So either way, you get it. It was a while ago. But the biggest thing that, of course, a lot of us were wondering was what was going to happen with the climactic scene between Mickey and Maleficent. What was going to happen now that we do not have Murphy the dragon, you know, which is the name of the animatronic, being in that scene anymore? Were we going to get a different dragon, maybe a temporary dragon, or what changes were they going to possibly make to the scene? Because also, mind you, I have to mention this again, they did delay this show for a year. They didn't necessarily need to do that, or maybe they actually had to, because for all we know, the fire damages underneath the stage when it came to like everything burning and, you know, all that stuff, that could have had like significant damage underneath the stage of Fantasmic, to the point where they realized they couldn't really open it as quickly as they were hoping to. So that could have possibly been why they needed to keep it closed for an entire year. I don't know. But again, I just want to remind you, it's been closed for an entire year. Over an entire year. What they ended up doing now with this new climax, and you know, actually another thing I wanted to mention, not just even that, kind of leading into this, is that when they did mention that, oh, we're not going to have the dragon come back, but we're going to have a new scene, climactic scene between Mickey and Maleficent. So see, I was wondering, well, are we going to have like maybe new composition or something? Is it going to be like a new type of battle or whatever? I wasn't really fully sure what that meant, but I just knew that we were going to get something different when it came to that scene, because again, we're not going to get the dragon, right? It sounded like we weren't going to get a B mode version of the show, which people would have been fine with if it was like because I remember, because I'm in like a lot of like Disney like live streams and whatever, so I'm in some like chats and whatnot, and so when the idea of talking about like Fantasmic returning, and we all knew the dragon wasn't going to come back, but people were talking about like, you know, if they just brought back like the projected dragon where the mist screens go up and you just have the projection of the dragon, we would be fine with it. We just want Fantasmic to come back, right? But what we ended up actually getting, which is not really being received all that well by a lot of people, is we're getting Maleficent being on the stage much longer. That's literally kind of how it was described in one of the articles, is that it's technically a new scene, which in all honesty, it's not a new scene. It's practically the same thing that we got before. It's just there's no dragon. It's just, and also there's no projection with it as well. It's just we have Maleficent kind of up on that giant, I don't know what you would call it, but the platform where it's kind of just raising her very high. She's essentially just going to be out there, be there the entire time now, and she's the one that causes the fire and yada yada yada. So essentially, basically what it is she just doesn't turn into a dragon. She's just there. So that's what we have as of right now. And a lot of people seem to be kind of disappointed with it, which, look, I can understand, because we were kind of hoping that we would still get some kind of solution to a dragon. You know, because again, the dragon is a big part of Fantasmic. A lot of us were kind of hoping or wondering if Disney would possibly bring back the original dragon, you know, the what we call it, the dragon with the head on the stick, and you know, the one that's kind of similar to what you have now in Walt Disney World, right? We were kind of wondering, is that dragon going to make a comeback? I think it would have been cool if they did it. It's a dragon, you know, so a dragon regardless would be coming back. So I think that would have been kind of cool, but no, they are giving us Maleficent, which is fine. It's just, again, I think a lot of people were expecting more, but for me, it's more so that the show's been delayed for an entire year. Right? That's the thing we have to think about this or the thing we have to consider when it comes to it, is that the show has been delayed for an entire year. Now, again, I mentioned this before, I'll say it again, maybe it has to do with them still fixing the fire damage that was underneath the stage, because we don't necessarily know how extensive that was. There's no way we're going to get any sort of backstage photos of that particular, like, you know, backstage area of Disney. It's just, there's just no way we're going to get that. So we don't know how extensive, like, the fire damages were underneath the platform. It could have been very little, doubtful. And then it could have been very big to the point where it just had to have been replaced, and it had to have been, like, or refurbished, I should say, and it was just going to take them a long time to do it. It wasn't going to be able to be fixed within the span of a couple of months. We don't know any of these things. They're not going to tell us this stuff, but we don't know if that's why it's going to take them a very long time to, you know, to get the show back up and running. But let's say that the fire damages were already fixed way before then, right? The question would really be is, why did it take Fantasmic an entire year to return? What exactly justified the show being gone for an entire year? I think that's a question I'm asking, and I think that's a question kind of a lot of people are asking, because I think it would be one thing if the show came back much sooner and we would have just get that scene with Maleficent being there the entire time, right? I think people would be like, you know, the dragon burnt down, but we got the show back. We're going to be in BMO for a while. We might get a dragon later on in the future, yada, yada, yada. We don't know, right? But again, for me, and I think it is for a lot of people, but specifically for me, the fact that the show has been delayed for an entire year and we're just getting Maleficent like that, which is something we've seen before in other B modes of Fantasmic, right? When the dragon wouldn't work, at least in 1.0, because again, in 2.0, they had the projection that would come up. But in 1.0, that was basically what they would do, is Maleficent would just stay up there, right? So it's kind of like, what exactly is the reason for Fantasmic to be delayed for an entire year, you know? And I think that's kind of partially why a lot of people are kind of disappointed with this news and with this revelation here, because again, Fantasmic's been gone for an entire year, so that's kind of where we're at. So much so, actually, which I think is kind of crazy, some people even mentioned that they're canceling their dining reservations, which is like, what? First of all, I'm certainly not canceling it. Okay, it gives me guaranteed seating, and it's only $35. I'm at Rancho de Zocalo, so that's cool. I guess I kind of get it if people got like the more expensive options. I can kind of understand that, but I think it's crazy. It's kind of wild that people are like, yeah, we're canceling this. We're no longer doing it. We're just gonna camp it out, and that's that. So that's what it is right now. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Again, if anything, I'm happy that Fantasmic is back. Like, I can't wait to see it again on Friday and the other subsequent like days that I go to Disneyland. That's going to be part of my regular schedule, I'm sure. It's just, again, it's been gone for a long time, and it looks like it's the exact same show except for Peter Pan. I just feel like it could have come way sooner. Maybe we'll see on Friday If there was anything that could have possibly justified it being like gone for an entire year, you know. I mean, I do know that the fountains that are in the lake that are, you know, that play without throughout the show, I do know that those have been fixed, thankfully. But again, I don't think that alone would have been, you know, would have justified an entire year's worth of delays for the show. But I do want to mention something before I get out of here. I was originally going to read the entire article for you guys, but there's only like a specific moment or a specific passage that I would like to read you guys, because it's very interesting, because this is also something that makes me believe that what we're getting right now in terms of the climactic scene is only going to be temporary. So here is what I have right here. Okay, so this is from the LA Times, and it's talking about Fantasmic. And it's one of the workers, I believe, who have worked on Fantasmic for a very long time. So this is what he says. We're working for something, or we're excited for something to come back, and we're in the works and working on it. But I think what I've done with that scene, that good versus evil, and that battle between Maleficent and Mickey is so spectacular. We all loved the dragon and will keep working on things, but there's not much I can say about it. So I don't know about you, but I think that kind of says a lot. You know what I mean? It says that they're working on something. And obviously, I think another thing to also consider is that Disney probably did not want this show to be closed for as long as it did. And they're also kind of just itching for it to come back, especially in time for the summer, because we are almost in the summer season right now, right? But if they're hinting at what I think they're hinting at here, which makes it seem as though it is going to be a completely new dragon, then it makes sense, you know, that we're getting this particular scene with just Maleficent right now. And they're probably in the development stage of a new dragon. They might be trying to test out some new technology, right? So it wouldn't shock me if, like, they are truly just trying to bring us like a really new and really cool and impressive new dragon to the show. And that would be awesome if they do. If that's the plan, that would be freaking amazing. I mean, again, with the passage that I just read to you guys in the article, it makes it seem as though that's exactly the plan, is that they are working on something to return. And it seems like it's going to be a new dragon. I really hope that's the case. But yeah, so for me, I think this is going to be temporary. We might be stuck with this Maleficent battle scene for maybe a year, maybe a couple of years. Who knows? A newer version of the dragon, if we are getting that, could very well take a while for us to get. So I'm going to be a little patient on that. But either way, at the end of the day, Fantasmic is returning. And I'm excited to see it again. That's what I am excited about in general. It's just that it's back. I've missed it. A lot of us missed Fantasmic, all right? So just the fact that it's returning, honestly, is good enough for me. So that's all I really have to say on that. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this? Are you guys just as excited as I am that Fantasmic is returning? Or are you a little bit disappointed that the dragon is not in the show anymore, and that it's just Maleficent? Does that kind of turn you off a little bit? Or are you guys also on the same boat as I am and thinking that this is temporary, and that later on in the future, maybe in a couple of years or so, that we actually are going to get a new Fantasmic dragon debuting in the future? And that this is just temporary. Let me know down in the comments section down below what you guys think. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope to do another vlog very soon. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a vlog this Friday. But either way, stay tuned for another vlog coming very soon. We have some more Pixar foods to try out in Disneyland and in California Adventure, so stay tuned for that. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and hit the bell to be notified on my next video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I hope to see you guys in the next adventure. Take care.